A few days before our wedding anniversary, Suwon publicly presented me with a dazzling diamond ring as a gift at the company. Everyone was envious, praising Suwon's deep affection for me. On the surface, I appeared delighted and touched. However, that very evening, without any hesitation, I made the call to cancel my identity. Sir, are you sure you want to cancel? Once canceled, all traces of your existence in this world, including your identity information, bank accounts, social media accounts, everything will be completely erased. It's as if you never existed. The voice of the staff member on the other end of the phone carried a professional caution and a hint of disbelief, repeatedly seeking my confirmation. Confirm cancellation. But I had no hesitation. A few days later would be my wedding anniversary with Suwon. What Suwon didn't know was that it would also be the day I bid her farewell forever. A week ago, as our third wedding anniversary with Suwon was approaching, I went to the company to pick her up from work as usual. She is the CEO of Jiangxing Group, a powerful businesswoman worth over 100 million. In the eyes of outsiders, she is a decisive and unapproachable queen of the business world. At home, she is a gentle, virtuous, and considerate wife. Everyone envies me, saying I must have saved the galaxy in my past life to marry such a perfect woman as Suwon. As soon as she entered the company, Suwon quickly walked up to me and affectionately linked her arm with mine. Let me introduce everyone. This is my husband, Lin Mo. Suwon's voice was gentle and full of love. To thank Lin Mo for his support and dedication these past 3 years, I've specially prepared a gift for him. As she spoke, Suwon took an exquisite gift box from her secretary's hands, opened it, and inside lay a dazzling diamond ring. Honey, do you like it? This is the custom-made gift I prepared for our third wedding anniversary. In front of everyone, she opened the box, revealing a dazzling diamond ring inside. The office immediately erupted in enthusiastic applause, with employees casting envious glances, admiring Suwon's deep affection and love for me. Wow, what a huge diamond. CEO Su is so good to Lin Mo. This is true love. The surrounding employees all expressed their admiration. Suwon personally put the ring on my finger, her fingers slender and soft. However, just as Suwon was putting the ring on me, my phone vibrated once. It was a message from Suwon's assistant, Li Hao. I instinctively took it out and glanced at it, instantly feeling a chill in my heart. It was a video. In the video, Suwon was straddling Li Hao, passionately moving her hips, letting out embarrassingly sensual moans. And on Li Hao's finger was unmistakably a diamond ring identical to the one on my hand. So it turned out that this so-called custom-made diamond ring actually had 2 versions. No, perhaps not 2, but the same one. It was nothing more than a piece of trash that Suwon's lover had grown tired of and casually passed on to me. I felt a wave of intense nausea, my stomach churning, but I still forced myself to put on a smile for those around me. Thank you, I love it. Suwon didn't seem to notice anything unusual about me, and continued to hold my arm while exchanging pleasantries with the company employees. I responded mechanically, feeling my throat tighten and struggling to breathe. Back home, Suwon personally cooked and prepared a lavish dinner. Red wine steak, French foie gras, and my favorite tiramisu filled the dining table, their aromas wafting through the air. Watching her busy figure, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Try it. I learned it especially for today. Suwon took off her apron, sat down across from me with a smile, her eyes full of anticipation. I picked up the knife and fork, cut a small piece of steak and put it in my mouth, but it felt tasteless, like chewing wax. My appetite hasn't been good these past few days. Everything I eat makes me feel nauseous. Maybe it's the side effects of the medication, or maybe it's because of my mood. I can't tell. How is it? Does it taste good? Suwon asked expectantly. It's delicious. I forced a smile and nodded. Suwon didn't seem to notice anything unusual about me, and continued enthusiastically serving me food, pouring wine, and chattering about things at the company. I ate silently, feeling increasingly heavy-hearted. The videos and photos on my phone were like thorns, piercing my heart, making it hard for me to breathe. What's wrong, honey? Is the food not to your liking? Suwon sat across from me, with a gentle smile on her face, asking with concern. She was wearing a cream-colored loungewear, her long hair casually draped over her shoulders, looking both relaxed and charming. I forced a smile and shook my head. No, it's fine. I just don't have much appetite. Are you feeling unwell? Suwon said, putting down her chopsticks and getting up to come to my side. She gently pressed her forehead against mine, carefully feeling my temperature. I instinctively wanted to back away, to avoid her touch, but my body felt like it was filled with lead, unable to move. My gaze fell on her neck. There, a kiss mark that had not yet faded was still visible. My heart sank suddenly, as if gripped tightly by an invisible hand, almost suffocating. At the same time, a strong wave of dizziness hit me, and I felt the world spinning, everything before my eyes becoming blurry. I knew it was my old problem acting up again. Honey, what's wrong? You look terrible. Soo-won's voice became anxious. Are you feeling sick somewhere? Let's go to the hospital and check. As she spoke, she was about to reach out to support me. I'm fine, just a little tired. I'll be better after some rest. I forced myself to stay upright, managed a weak smile, and gently pushed her hand away. I didn't want to go to the hospital, didn't want her to know about my condition. Just then, Soo-won's phone rang. She picked up her phone, glanced at the caller ID, and her expression instantly became somewhat rigid. Hello, what is it? She walked to the side and spoke in a lowered voice, her tone somewhat impatient. A few minutes later, she hung up and said to me apologetically, Honey, I'm sorry, something urgent came up at work. I need to go back immediately to handle it. Would you go to the hospital by yourself? I'll come back to be with you as soon as I'm done. After saying this, she leaned down, gave me a gentle hug, and placed a soft kiss on my forehead. I forced myself to nod, mustering a smile. Okay, go ahead, don't worry about me. Soo-won hastily grabbed her bag and quickly walked out the door. I listened to the sound of her high heels hitting the ground, each step fading away until it disappeared outside the door. Yet it felt like knives cutting into my heart. I could no longer hold myself up and collapsed into a chair, gasping for air. I fumbled in my pocket for a small pill bottle, shook out a few pills, and swallowed them with cold mineral water. These were the pills prescribed by my doctor. They could alleviate my symptoms, but couldn't cure my illness. As the medication gradually spread through my body, the dizziness slowly subsided, but the pain in my heart didn't lessen at all. I slowly walked to the window and watched Soo-won hurrying towards a car parked by the roadside. A familiar figure stood by the car, Lee Hao, Soo-won's assistant, and the man from the videos and photos. Why did you come? Didn't I say our relationship should be limited to the company? What if Lin Mo sees us? Soo-won's voice was low, but on this quiet night, it sounded exceptionally clear. Warner, I missed you so much, I couldn't help but come. There was a hint of grievance and coquetry in Lee Hao's voice. He stepped forward, wanting to embrace Soo-won, but was gently pushed away by her. Don't fool around, let's talk in the car. Soo-won said coquettishly, pushing Lee Hao away. Lee Hao persisted, holding her tightly again, and planted a firm kiss on her lips. Soo-won made a token effort to push him away, but then obediently closed her eyes and passionately returned his kiss. As they continued kissing, their passion intensified and their breathing became more rapid. They rolled into the car together, causing the vehicle to start shaking. I don't know how I walked back to my room, or how I lay down on the bed. I just felt cold all over, as if I was in a huge ice cellar. In the evening, Soo-won sent a text message saying she had too much work at the company and wouldn't be coming home tonight. He also comforted me, saying that our wedding anniversary was coming up in a few days, and she would definitely make it up to me then. To this, I simply replied with a silent okay. Soon, my phone rang again with more videos and photos from Lee Hao. This time, they were even more brazen, indulging in intimate activities right in Soo-won's office. In the video, Soo-won's eyes were seductive and her breathing was heavy, appearing completely different from her usual elegant and composed demeanor as a female CEO. I closed my eyes, forcing myself not to look or listen. But those images and sounds lingered in my mind, refusing to go away. To distract myself, I began to reminisce. I recalled the first time I met Soo-won. We met at a friend's birthday party. She wore a white dress, with her long hair cascading over her shoulders, looking as pure as an otherworldly fairy untouched by mortal concerns. I fell in love with her at first sight and mustered the courage to ask for her contact information. In the days that followed, I texted her every day, inviting her to meals, movies, and shopping. At first, she was a bit cold towards me, but gradually, she was moved by my sincerity and persistence. We fell in love and, like all couples in the throes of romance, became inseparable. Later, we started a business together and established the Jiangxin Group. In the early stages of our startup, conditions were very tough. We rented a small office where we worked for over 10 hours a day, napping on the desk when exhausted. To secure business for the company, I had to entertain clients with drinks every day. Once, I drank too much and ended up in the hospital with a gastric hemorrhage. Soo-won was extremely worried and stayed by my hospital bed, taking care of me without leaving my side. With tears in her eyes, she said to me, Lin Mo, please don't push yourself so hard anymore. I'd rather the company fail than see you abuse your body like this. I held her hand and smiled weakly, comforting her by saying, Silly, I'm fine. Once the company grows bigger, I won't have to work so hard anymore. Then promise me you won't drink alcohol again, okay? She said with a choked voice. All right, I promise you. I nodded. Later, the company really grew bigger and bigger, and we became wealthier and wealthier. Soo-won asked me to quit my job and rest comfortably at home. Honey, you've worked too hard before. Now it's time to enjoy life. I'll take care of the company, don't worry. I thought this was the beginning of happiness. I thought we would continue to be happy like this. However, now it seems that everything was just my wishful thinking. I took out the late-stage cancer diagnosis report I had prepared long ago from the bedside table drawer, gently stroking the words on it, feeling a deep sadness in my heart. It turns out, fate had already arranged everything for me. I dialed the number of the Civil Affairs Bureau and said in a calm voice, "Hello, I'd like to make an appointment for personal identity cancellation." After hanging up the phone, I found a divorce agreement and carefully filled in the relevant information. I decided to leave after spending our wedding anniversary with Sue Wan. On our wedding anniversary, without telling Sue Wan in advance, I went to her company. Last night, Sue Wan told me she would come home early tonight. She said she wanted to give me a surprise and told me to look forward to it. On the way, I noticed that the employees of Jiangcheng Group were looking at me strangely, whispering and pointing. Their eyes were full of curiosity, inquiry, and even a hint of barely noticeable sympathy. I didn't know what they were discussing, but I felt vaguely uneasy. When I arrived at the floor of Sue Wan's office, I happened to run into her secretary, Xiao Lu. "Mr. Lin, are you here to see Ms. Sue?" Xiao Lu said to me with an awkward expression, holding a paper bag that was bulging as if it contained something. "Yes, is Sue Wan in?" I asked. "Ms. Sue is a bit busy right now. Would you mind coming back later?" Little Lu's tone was hesitant, and her eyes were evasive. I noticed that the paper bag Little Lu was holding seemed to contain a box of condoms. Although the packaging was discreet, I still recognized it. Seeing my scrutinizing gaze, Little Lu became even more flustered. She tried to explain, "Miss Sue asked me to buy these. Maybe she wanted to give you a surprise tonight." With an expressionless face, I said, "Give them to me. I'll deliver them to her." Little Lu was stunned for a moment, seemingly not expecting me to say that. She hesitated, but still handed the paper bag to me. Then, "Be careful, Miss Sue is." She seemed to want to say more, but ultimately said nothing. I took the paper bag and walked to the door of Sue Wan's office. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but felt a dull pain in my chest, and breathing became somewhat difficult. Intermittent gasps and moans could be heard from inside the door, along with Sue Wan's coquettish, flirtatious voice. "Don't do that, Li Hao. Be gentle." I felt a chill rising from my feet to my heart, and all the blood in my body seemed to freeze. I knocked on the door. Sue Wan's voice came from inside, suppressing her breaths, broken and intermittent. "Just leave it at the door, you can go now." I didn't say anything, just silently placed the paper bag at the door, then turned and left. I went to the company's stairwell, lit a cigarette, and smoked silently. The taste of nicotine numbed my nerves and temporarily eased my pain. I recalled the past anniversary celebrations I had spent with Sue Wan. The first year, we rented a small apartment and prepared a simple meal together. We didn't have expensive gifts or lavish celebrations, but we loved each other, cuddled together, and felt incredibly happy. That day, Sue Wan gave me a handmade paper crane, saying, "Lin Mo, I will be with you forever, until the end of time." In the second year, our company had started to take shape, and our life gradually became more affluent. We reserved a high-end restaurant and enjoyed a romantic candlelit dinner. Sue Wan gave me an expensive watch, saying, "Lin Mo, you are the most important person in my life. I will cherish you forever." We had once promised to spend every wedding anniversary together, whether in poverty or wealth, in health or sickness, to be together forever, never parting. But this year, I looked at the cigarette butt in my hand, my heart filled with bitterness. The once solemn vows, the once sweet promises, had now become a bitter joke. Thinking of this promise, my heart was suddenly filled with mixed emotions. Just then, I heard the voices of several company employees coming from around the corner of the hallway. "Did you know? Today, CEO Sue and Li Hao were in the office again. We've known for a long time. They've been carrying on for ages. Haven't you noticed? Ever since Li Hao arrived, CEO Sue has been especially good to him, giving him all kinds of tasks to do. I feel sorry for President Sue's husband. He's still being kept in the dark. If he knew President Sue was carrying on with someone else behind his back, who knows how he would react? What reaction could he have? He'd just have to swallow his pride. As someone who lives off his wife, would he dare to go against President Sue? Only then did I realize that everyone in the company knew about Sue Wan's affair, while I alone had been fooled like an idiot. I viciously crushed out my cigarette and left the company. Back at my apartment, I took out a divorce agreement that I had prepared long ago from the drawer. I had originally planned to leave after celebrating this wedding anniversary with Sue Wan, but now it seems there's no need for that anymore. I walked to the window, looking at the gradually darkening sky outside. I knew my days were numbered. Perhaps leaving was the best choice. At least I could preserve my last shred of dignity. I sent Sue Wan a text message, "Happy anniversary." Then I threw my phone into the trash can. In this world, she was the only one I couldn't let go of. But she no longer belonged to me. In the evening, Sue Wan excitedly returned home with a large box of gifts, calling out affectionately, "Honey, I'm home. Look what I brought for you." Her tone was light and playful, with a hint of coquettishness, as if she were still that girl in love. "Honey, come out and see. I've been preparing anniversary gifts for you all day. I'm exhausted." She placed the gift box on the coffee table in the living room, untied the elegant ribbon, revealing an assortment of designer clothes, watches, and carefully selected mementos. Seeing no response, Suwon felt somewhat confused. Lin Mo would usually be waiting for her at home early, but today there was no sign of him. Had he gone out? She put down what she was holding and raised her voice again. "Honey, where are you?" She walked to the bedroom door, knocked gently, and said apologetically, "Is it because I came back too late and made you angry from waiting too long? I'm sorry. I promise I'll be more mindful next time. Would you please open the door?" But there was still no reply from inside, only silence. The confusion in Suwon's heart grew deeper as she gently turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. The room was empty, excessively tidy, as if no one had lived there for a long time. Suwon felt a wave of unease. She began searching for Lin Mo throughout the house. Bedroom, study, bathroom, balcony. She searched every corner, but couldn't find any trace of him. What puzzled her even more was that she found Lin Mo's wardrobe half empty, with many of his frequently worn clothes missing. An indescribable fear welled up in her heart. She stumbled towards the living room, wanting to call Lin Mo, only to find her phone empty. No missed calls, no unread messages. Just then, she suddenly noticed a white envelope left on the coffee table. With trembling hands, she picked up the envelope and saw a few words written on it: divorce agreement. Suwon felt her breath catch, as if someone had gripped her throat, making it impossible to breathe. Her hands shaking, she opened the document to find that Lin Mo had already signed the agreement, giving up all property and choosing to leave with nothing. Feeling shocked and scared, she unconsciously muttered, "Impossible. This must be fake. How could Lin Mo possibly divorce me? This isn't real." She couldn't believe her eyes. She refused to accept that Lin Mo would divorce her, that their 3 years of love could be so easily shattered. This must be fake. Surely someone was playing a cruel joke on her. She shook her head desperately, trying to shake off the ominous thoughts in her mind. However, those cold words were like sharp knives, piercing her heart mercilessly. Just then, a WeChat message alert sounded from the trash can. She froze for a moment, then suddenly remembered something and stumbled towards the garbage bin. She leaned over, rummaging through the trash until she finally found a phone. It was Lin Mo's phone. Her hands trembling slightly, she carefully picked up the phone. The screen displayed an unread message. Taking a deep breath, she unlocked the phone and opened WeChat. On the chat interface, a name stood out prominently: Li Hao. Suwon's heartbeat instantly accelerated, and an ominous premonition once again surged in her mind. She tremblingly opened the chat history, and row after row of explicit messages, sentence after sentence. Sea of vicious provocations, like sharp knives, painfully stabbed her eyes. "Lin Mo, oh Lin Mo, your wife was really something today. Even knowing it's your wedding anniversary, she still couldn't leave me alone, was pinned down on my desk by me moaning all day long. That sound. Tistit hisip hiske." He described their intimacy with a contemptuous tone, insulting Lin Mo's dignity with malicious words. Suwon clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging deep into her flesh. She continued scrolling through WeChat, seeing all kinds of boastful and provocative words Li Hao sent to Lin Mo, seeing those secretly taken photos and videos of herself that Li Hao had sent. In those photos and videos, she and Li Hao were in a state of undress, behaving intimately, filled with suggestive and provocative content. She finally realized that Lin Mo had known about her affair with Li Hao all along, and that Li Hao had been using her to provoke and insult Lin Mo this entire time, while she herself was completely unaware, kept in the dark all along, like a fool. It turned out that Lin Mo had been silently enduring all of this, bearing enormous pain and humiliation. As she thought about all the ways she had deceived and hurt Lin Mo, about how she had cheated with Li Hao for an entire day on their wedding anniversary, about how she had repeatedly betrayed and wounded Lin Mo by having an affair with Li Hao just for the thrill and pleasure, Suwon felt immense regret and anguish. It was as if an invisible knife was constantly cutting into her heart. Her heart was completely shattered. She finally understood why Lin Mo wanted to divorce her, why he chose to give up everything and leave alone. Regret, pain, anger, and various complex emotions surged in her heart, almost consuming her. She collapsed on the ground in agony, tears streaming uncontrollably. After an unknown amount of time, Suwon slowly calmed down. The pain and sorrow disappeared from her face, replaced by a cold calmness. She wiped the tears from her face, stood up, and dialed a phone number. "Bring Li Hao to me." Her voice was cold and calm, devoid of any emotion. Half an hour later, a team of black-clad bodyguards burst into Suwon's office, bringing Li Hao before her, tightly bound. Upon seeing Suwon, Li Hao immediately became excited, thinking she missed him, and hastily said, "Warner, you finally remembered me? I knew you couldn't live without me." Before he could finish speaking, Suwon grabbed his hair and violently slammed his head against the floor. Bang, bang, bang. The violent impacts of Li Hao's head hitting the floor made a chilling sound. He went from confusion to begging for mercy, until his head was bleeding profusely and his face was covered in blood. Only then did Suwon release her grip. "Why? Why did you send those messages to Linimo? How many times did I warn you to stay away from Linimo? Why didn't you listen?" Suwon angrily demanded, her voice hoarse and trembling, her eyes filled with murderous intent. Faced with Suwon's furious expression that looked ready to kill, Li Hao finally felt afraid. He quickly knelt on the ground, kowtowing and begging for mercy. "Warner, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I just love you too much. I just wanted to make him leave you on his own. Wasn't it because you didn't like him any more that you got together with me?" Listening to Li Hao's excuses, Suwon suddenly felt nauseated, as if she had swallowed a fly. She angrily slapped Li Hao and shouted hysterically, "Linimo can only be my husband. How many times have I told you not to let him know about this? What right do you have to humiliate him?" She pointed at Li Hao, her tone full of contempt. "Who do you think you are? You're nothing but a pet with a pretty face. There are no feelings between us. I only love Linimo. You're just a pet. How dare you use my affection for you to hurt him?" Suwon glanced at Li Hao's hand, a flash of viciousness suddenly appearing in her eyes. "It was this finger that stole the ring I gave to Linimo, wasn't it?" After saying this, Suwon used both hands to forcefully break that finger, causing Li Hao to let out an extremely painful cry. Then, with a single command, Suwon ordered her bodyguards to disable Li Hao. Li Hao was immediately scared out of his wits, kneeling on the ground and repeatedly kowtowing to beg for mercy, his wails echoing throughout the room. But looking at the pleading Li Hao, Suwon only felt more disgusted. She couldn't forgive herself for hurting Linimo for such a despicable and shameless scumbag. She ordered Li Hao to be locked up and tortured for 7 days and 7 nights. She wanted to make Li Hao suffer, unable to live or die, to pay the price for everything he had done. In the following days, Suwon used almost all her resources to search for Linmo's whereabouts. She offered a hefty reward and mobilized all her connections, just to find him, apologize to him, and beg for his forgiveness. During these days, Suwon spent most of her time staring blankly at the divorce agreement. She tried to find flaws in this agreement, wanting to prove that Linmo didn't truly want to divorce her, but discovered that in the divorce agreement, Linmo asked for nothing, willing to leave empty-handed just to divorce her. How desperate must he have been to give up everything just to divorce her? As Suwon thought about this, she felt even more anguished, as if an invisible knife was constantly cutting into her heart. Suwon frantically tried to find me, but I never appeared, because I didn't want her to find me. At this moment, I hadn't passed away, I had only canceled my personal information and come to the Maldives. This place was where Suwon had always wanted to come when we were in love. She said the sea water here is the clearest in the world, and the beaches here are the softest in the world. She said her greatest wish was to someday spend time with me, doing nothing but lying on the beach together, watching the sunrise and sunset every day. But now, I'm here alone. I stroll along the beach, gazing at the azure sea, remembering all the little moments between Suwon and me. Memories float through my mind like scenes from a movie, frame by frame, vivid and real. I recall when we first started dating, when Suwon was still an innocent, naive college student. To prepare my birthday gift, she ran all over the city just to find that suit I had always wanted. I remember when we started our business together, eating only instant noodles every day to save money. Despite the hardships, our hearts were filled with hope. I think about how I often had to entertain clients with drinks to secure business. Eventually, I drank until my stomach bled, and I was rushed to the hospital. She was heartbroken with worry, staying by my bedside all night, never leaving my side. She said that I was not allowed to work so hard anymore, as health is the most important thing. At that time, I felt I was the happiest man in the world. Having a lover like Suwon was worth any sacrifice. Looking back now, those beautiful memories seem like sweet traps, luring me step by step towards a hopeless abyss. I'm not sure exactly when our relationship started to have problems. Perhaps it was from the day I resigned. Suwon became increasingly busy, coming home less and less often. Our communication also decreased, until finally, we became the most familiar strangers to each other. Maybe it's because I was too ordinary, while Suwon was too excellent. Unable to keep up with her pace, I felt inferior and pressured. The gap between us grew larger, and we had fewer and fewer common topics. Maybe it's because too much time has passed, and love has turned into familial affection. Maybe, but I don't have time to think about all that anymore. My body was growing weaker, and I knew I didn't have much time left. I found a clean stretch of beach, lay down, and watched the sun slowly setting. Golden light washed over my face, giving me a feeling of warmth. Perhaps, I thought, this wasn't such a bad way to go. No pain, no sorrow, just peace and tranquility. My consciousness grew hazier, and my eyelids became heavier. Finally, as the sun sank below the horizon, I quietly collapsed onto the sand and peacefully closed my eyes. Suwon hadn't slept for days, her eyes bloodshot and her face terrifyingly pale. She had used every connection and method at her disposal, practically turning the entire city upside down, but still couldn't find any trace of Lin Mo. Until this day, when a subordinate rushed into her office, handed her a document, and said with a trembling voice, "Ms. Su, we found out. Mr. Lin, he has canceled all of his personal information." Suwon snatched the document and trembled as she read the text. "Terminal cancer," Suwon mumbled, her voice shaking uncontrollably. At that moment, Suwon was struck as if by lightning, the documents in her hand slipping away powerlessly, scattering in the air. Only then did she realize that Lin Mo had been silently enduring the double torment of betrayal and illness, walking alone toward the end of his life. An enormous wave of regret and pain surged like a tide, completely engulfing Suwon. She could no longer hold herself up, her vision darkened, and she fainted on the spot. When Suwon regained consciousness, it was already the next morning. To express her remorse and determination, Suwon released a tearful apology statement to the entire internet. She admitted to her infidelity, detailed her relationship with Li Hao, and the harm she had caused to Lin Mo. She publicly apologized to Lin Mo, promising to spend the rest of her life making amends for her mistakes and begging for his forgiveness. At the same time, she offered a large reward for anyone who could provide information about Lin Mo's whereabouts, whether alive or dead. She was determined to find him. When the news broke, it caused an uproar across the internet. Some sympathized with Suwon's situation, considering her a victim as well. However, more people verbally attacked her, believing she got what she deserved. But Suwon no longer cared about any of that. She didn't care about anything else. She just wanted to find Lin Mo, no matter the cost. A month later, one of Suwon's subordinates excitedly rushed into her office to deliver good news. "Ms. Su, we found him. We found Mr. Lin," the subordinate said excitedly. "We found him in a hospice in the Maldives." The Maldives? Suwon was shocked by this news, as if struck by lightning. Suwon suddenly remembered. That was the place she had always wanted to visit with Lin Mo. They had once promised to go on vacation together in the Maldives. However, this promise could never be fulfilled now. She never imagined that Lin Mo would go to the Maldives alone, and at the final moments of his life. She immediately booked a flight and rushed to the Maldives as quickly as possible. When she arrived at the hospice, Lin Mo had already fallen into a deep coma. The doctor told her that Lin Mo's vital signs were now weak, and he could leave this world at any moment. Suwon's heart was torn. She couldn't accept that Lin Mo would leave like this. She stumbled to the bedside, grabbed Lin Mo's hand, and burst into tears. Lin Mo, wake up. Look at me, it's Suwon." Suwon cried out, her voice shrill and desperate. "Please don't scare me, okay? Open your eyes and look at me." But no matter how she called out to him, Lin Mo showed no response, still lying there quietly, motionless. Suwon's heart completely collapsed. She fell to her knees beside the hospital bed, tightly embracing Lin Mo's body, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I shouldn't have cheated. I shouldn't have ignored you." Suwon cried out, her voice hoarse and weak. "Can you forgive me? Please forgive me. As long as you wake up, I'll do anything you ask. I won't work anymore. I'll stay by your side every day." In front of the unconscious Lin Mo, she continuously confessed and apologized. She explained that she had never fallen in love with someone else, that she had always loved Lin Mo. It was because she was too exhausted every day. She had taken on everything herself to prevent Lin Mo from working or worrying about company matters, wanting to provide him with a carefree life. However, she was truly exhausted and under immense pressure. At that time, she was deceived by Li Hao's sweet talk and lost herself. When she was with Li Hao, she could temporarily forget about company matters and household chores, finding momentary relief and satisfaction. Blinded by temporary gratification, she made a terrible mistake and caused irreparable harm to Lin Mo. She kept apologizing to Lin Mo, repeating over and over, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I shouldn't have betrayed you. I truly know I was wrong. Please forgive me." But no matter how much she begged, Lin Mo never opened his eyes or gave her any response. "No, I can't let you leave me like this." Suwon suddenly raised her head, a glint of madness flashing in her eyes. She couldn't let Lin Mo die like this. She would do everything in her power to keep him, no matter the cost. To keep Lin Mo alive, to give him a chance to wake up, and to make amends for her mistakes. She decided to cryogenically freeze Lin Mo, waiting for the day when medical technology would advance enough. She sold all her shares in Jiangxin Group and invested all the funds into a top cancer research institute, hoping they could conquer cancer soon and give Lin Mo a chance to wake up. Decades later, I was awakened from the cryogenic chamber by hospital staff. The bright lights made me feel uncomfortable. I slowly opened my eyes and saw an unfamiliar world. White ceiling, strange equipment, and doctors and nurses in white uniforms. Everything made me feel bewildered. I vaguely remembered having a terminal illness, approaching the end of my life, and peacefully closing my eyes on a beach in the Maldives. But I couldn't understand why I was here. "You're awake," a doctor exclaimed excitedly, his voice trembling slightly. "Where am I? How did I end up here?" I asked weakly, my voice hoarse and feeble. "You're now at the Cancer Research Center in the Maldives." The doctor explained. "It was your wife, Su Wan, who saved you." "Su Wan," I murmur. "Ed," the name feeling both familiar and strange. "Yes, Mrs. Su Wan. All these years, she never gave up on you, silently waiting for you to wake up." The doctor continued. "She sold all the shares of Jiangxin Group and used all the funds to establish this cancer research institute here, hoping we could conquer cancer sooner and give you a chance to wake up." Hearing this, I felt a wave of emotion. I never imagined Su Wan would do so much for me. "I want to see her," I said, my tone filled with longing. "Of course, Mrs. Su Wan has been waiting for you all along." The doctor nodded and led me out of the hospital room. I followed the doctor through a long corridor, arriving at a familiar place. This was the beach in Maldives. I looked at everything before me in amazement. The azure sea and sky, the coconut palm shadows, and the soft, fine sand, almost unchanged from decades ago. "She's over there." The doctor pointed to a spot on the beach not far away and said softly. I looked in the direction he was pointing and saw a figure both familiar and strange. She wore a plain long dress, sitting quietly there, gazing absently at the seaside. I walked closer step by step, my heart beating faster with each footstep. As I got closer, I could hardly believe that the once stunning Su Wan now had completely white hair and walked with a faltering gait. She is Su Wan?" I asked tremblingly, my voice filled with uncertainty. "Yes, she has Alzheimer's disease. Her memory has severely deteriorated, and she can no longer recognize anyone." The doctor sighed and said softly. My heart sank suddenly, and an indescribable sadness welled up inside me. I walked up to Su Wan and gently called her name. "Su Wan." Su Wan looked up blankly, staring at me with no hint of recognition in her eyes. Her gaze was empty and confused, like a child lost in the dark. Although there was no familiarity in Su Wan's eyes, I noticed that tears were unconsciously flowing down her face. Two clear streams of tears slowly trickled down her wrinkled cheeks, falling onto the beach and disappearing. I saw that Su Wan was tightly clutching a photograph in her hand. It was a picture of me when I was young. And beside Su Wan's leg, there was a thick notebook, filled with pages densely covered with my name. Lin Mo, Lin Mo, Lin Mo. Countless repetitions of my name, neatly arranged in the notebook, as if expressing her endless longing for me. It turns out, even though Su Wan had forgotten everything else, she hadn't forgotten me. She wanted to use this method to keep me in her memory. As our eyes met, I didn't know how to face Su Wan, who was looking at me with tears in her eyes. I didn't know how to tell her that I was the person she had been waiting for all along. I didn't know how to comfort her, to help her forget the pain of the past. As the sun set, golden light spilled across the beach, stretching our shadows long and thin. Su Wan and I gazed at each other silently, without speaking. We had ultimately missed our chance.